Here's something I've noticed about men. You can usually tell within minutes whether a woman genuinely respects a guy or if she's just tolerating him. It shows up in her tone, her body language, how she responds to his input. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Most men don't even realize when they're being disrespected because they've normalized it. You definitely don't want to miss number 2. It's the mindset that separates men who command respect from those who constantly chase it. The 8th way to handle women who don't respect you is to disarm. With amused mastery. Most men hear disrespect and immediately go into explanation mode. Well, actually, what I meant was, or you don't understand. This is psychological quicksand. The more you explain, the deeper you sink. And picture this, you're at dinner and she says, "You never listen to me," in that sarcastic tone. Instead of defending yourself with, "But I do listen," you just smile slightly and say, "You're absolutely right, I'm basically deaf." Watch her confusion replace her attitude. Here's what's actually happening in her brain. When you stay calm, her amygdala was expecting a fight or flight response from you. When you don't give it to her, she experiences cognitive dissonance. She literally doesn't know how to categorize you anymore. Neuroscience research shows that when someone tries to provoke you, they're actually seeking dopamine hits from your defensive responses. When you remain completely unshakable, you deny them that neurochemical reward, and they start questioning whether they're dealing with someone operating on a different level entirely. The 7th way is to pass what psychologists call compliance tests. With complete composure, most guys fail this by taking the bait, getting defensive, raising their voice, or trying to prove their worth through argument. This immediately signals emotional instability and low social intelligence. Imagine she says something like, "I guess you think you're really smart after you make a decision." The typical male response is, "I don't think I'm smart, I just stop right there." Instead, you shrug and say, "Smart enough, here's what's happening psychologically." She's now experiencing her own stress response because she didn't get the reaction she expected. Her brain is working overtime, trying to figure out why her usual pattern isn't working. Evolutionary psychology tells us that these interactions reveal how someone handles pressure and maintains leadership under stress. Studies on primate behavior show that high-status males in social hierarchies never justify their position. They simply maintain it through unshakable composure. When you see disrespectful behavior, recognize that your response determines how you're categorized in her mental hierarchy. The 6th technique is called agree and amplify. The common mistake here is trying to logic your way out of her. Accusation. "I'm not selfish, here's why." Or, "That's not fair, let me explain." You're basically handing her your emotional control on a silver platter. Let's say she accuses you of being stubborn. Most men would launch into a defense. "I'm not stubborn, I'm just thorough." Instead, you lean into it. "You're absolutely right, I'm basically a mule in human form." Here's the psychological magic happening. Her brain was prepared for conflict, but you just agreed with her. She's experiencing what psychologists call cognitive dissonance. Her attack strategy just became useless. Research on interpersonal dynamics shows that when you won't be drawn into defensive explanations, you signal high emotional intelligence and self-security. This pattern reveals something crucial. Confidence operates in silence, while insecurity broadcasts loudly through justification. The 5th way is to reward respect and starve disrespect. The typical male error is giving equal attention to both good and bad behavior. You engage with her sarcasm. You respond to her eye rolls. You try to fix her attitude. All you're doing is reinforcing the disrespectful behavior. Picture this scenario. She's being sweet and engaged. So you put your phone down and give her your full attention. Later, he starts getting snippy and dismissive. So you calmly pick up your phone and become unavailable. Here's what's happening in her subconscious. She's learning that respectful behavior gets rewarded, while disrespectful behavior gets ignored. Her brain starts connecting the dots. Good behavior equals positive attention. Bad behavior equals withdrawal. Behavioral psychology shows that intermittent reinforcement creates the strongest behavioral patterns. When you consistently reward good behavior while ignoring bad behavior, you're essentially rewiring the dynamic. This principle works because the human brain is constantly seeking patterns and connections between actions and consequences. The fourth strategy is to mirror her emotional distance. Most men make the critical mistake of pursuing. When she withdraws, she gets cold, so you try harder. She becomes dismissive, so you chase her approval. This creates what attachment theorists call an anxious avoidance cycle that destroys respect and attraction. Here's a real example. She starts giving you one-word answers and seems distracted. Instead of asking what's wrong or trying to re-engage her, you become equally unavailable. You start focusing on your own activities. With the same energy she's showing you psychologically, she's now experiencing something unexpected. Her withdrawal strategy isn't getting the usual, desperate response from you. Studies on relationship dynamics demonstrate that when you lean in, while she's leaning out, you inadvertently signal lower social value. Her brain interprets your pursuit as confirmation that she holds the power in the dynamic. When you mirror her distance instead, you maintain psychological equilibrium. If this is hitting close to home, and you're recognizing some of these patterns in your own life, type respect in the comments below. I want to see how many of you have been dealing with this without even realizing it. Never apologize for maintaining boundaries. The common trap is over-explaining your standards. I'm sorry, but I just think we should treat each other with respect. Because stop. You're essentially asking permission to have boundaries. Imagine she says something dismissive about your work. The weak response is, I'm sorry you feel that way, but my career is important to me. Because the strong response is simply changing the subject. Or walking away. Here's what's actually happening psychologically. Her behavior was probing to see if your boundaries were negotiable. When you don't engage in the negotiation, you communicate that your standards are non-negotiable. Social psychology tells us that people unconsciously probe boundaries. To understand social hierarchies, when you hold firm without drama or extensive explanation, you communicate unshakable self-worth. This behavior pattern signals that you operate from internal validation rather than external approval. The second way, the game changer I mentioned, is prioritizing self-respect over managing her emotions. Most men fall into the trap of becoming emotional managers. She's upset, so you drop everything to fix her mood. She's stressed, so you sacrifice your goals to accommodate her feelings. Picture this, you have an important project to finish, but she's in a bad mood and being difficult. The typical response is to abandon your work and try to improve her emotional state. The better approach is to acknowledge her mood, but continue with your priorities. Here's what this communicates psychologically. You're demonstrating that your mission comes first and her emotions. While important, don't control your decision-making. Neuroscience research shows that people are most attracted to those who demonstrate emotional independence and self-direction. When you prioritize your own psychological well-being over her temporary moods, you signal the kind of mental strength that naturally commands respect. This isn't about being cold. It's about maintaining your center, regardless of external emotional weather. The number one way to handle disrespectful women is to walk away. With zero emotional investment, the biggest mistake men make is trying to negotiate respect. Why are you treating me this way? Or I don't deserve this. You're essentially begging for something that should be freely given. Here's a clear example. She's consistently sarcastic and dismissive. Across multiple interactions, instead of having a relationship talk about respect, you simply start being less available. You don't announce it, you don't explain it. You just gradually remove your presence from her life. Here's what's happening psychologically. She starts experiencing the natural consequences of her behavior. Without any drama from you, psychology research on relationship satisfaction shows that people who are willing to walk away from disrespectful treatment maintain higher self-esteem and attract more respectful partners. This behavior pattern works because it demonstrates the ultimate form of self-respect. You value your peace and dignity more than any particular relationship outcome. Walking away isn't about punishment or manipulation. It's about self-preservation and communicating your value through action rather than words. When you can comfortably remove yourself from disrespectful situations, you operate from abundance rather than scarcity, which fundamentally changes how others perceive and treat you. What other situations with women do you want me to analyze? Drop your requests in the comments. Whether it's workplace dynamics, dating scenarios, or relationship patterns, talk soon.